temple architecture of Kerala is unique in many ways. The Kerala temple architecture is different from the typical Dravida style of architecture, which is commonly found in southern India. It is also different from Nagara style of architecture, normally observed in northern part of India. The architecture is also different from Vesara style of architecture, which combines both Nagara and Dravida elements. As you all know, Kerala is a narrow strip of land which is located between the Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. The wind blowing from the Arabian Sea strikes the Western Ghats, shedding a lot of rain, supporting tropical forests. So the availability of building materials like timber, because of this thick forest, and laterite stone played a major role in deciding the architectural style of Kerala temples. Precisely, climate, geology, and geography of Kerala have influenced its architectural styles. Now let us see that what was the kind of architecture in the beginning. The first worshipping edifice of Kerala was the Kavu. Cave temples like this one and rocket temples represents the earliest phase of temple architecture in Kerala. They were built during the period in between 6th and 8th century CE. Rocket temples were carved on single colossal granite rocks like this one, which is in Vizhinjam, located in Thiruvananthapuram. They carried carved sculptures. We can see the carved sculptures here and images of the deities. Now, the structural temples of Kerala started around 8th century CE. We have got some sources or the sources of evidences like old and still existing temples. And apart from that, we have got some inscriptions indicating that structural temples existed around this time. So these are some of the epigraphical references, like in Kodalmanikyam Bharata temple, there is Thanu Refi's inscription. Then Trichittat Mahavishnu temple, a stone inscription of a second Chera empire. Then Kandiyur inscription, Varpalli copperplate inscription, Parthivapuram grand inscription, etc. So these kind of inscription or epigraphical references are there, dated to 8th, 10th centuries. In a few present-day structural temples, they speak about the existence of these temples during these periods. Now coming to the structural temples, temples of Kerala have evolved through 3 progressive stages with prominent changes, additions, and modifications in structures and concept. Basically, there are 3 phases. Early phase, which is from 800 to 1000 CE. The middle phase from 1001 to 1300 CE. Late phase from 1301 to 1800 CE. The structural temples of Kerala were constructed mainly according to Vastu Shastra and Tachu Shastra, which is also known as the science of carpentry. So these kind of texts were the guidebooks for the builders to make the structural temples in Kerala. These are some of the means the Vastu Shastra, Tachu Shastra texts. Kriya Deepika, Tantra Samuchaya, Shesha Samuchaya, Kurikkat Pacha, Shilparatna, etc. So they give some guidance for constructing the temples. Now let us see the materials used for the construction of Kerala temples. The temples have a distinct style because it was dominated, the architecture was dominated by the use of wood and supported by stone and metals. We can see here that the metal is used for that roof, for the walls, and the adhisthana stone is used, granite is used here, the laterite is used here, and wood is profusely used for the construction of Kerala temples. The teak, Tectona grandis, jack, Artocarpus heterophyllus, and aini, Artocarpus hirsutus, are the main woods used in temple construction and decoration. Wood crafts are seen in the form of panels, wooden panels around the Shrikovils like this one. And for the wood is also used for making heavy beams, rafters, pillars, brackets, and ceilings. Now let us see the layout of a typical kind of Kerala temple with that, and we have to see that main components of the Kerala temples. Let us start from the central part. This is the Shrikovil. And a typical temple may have, some of the temples may have the Mukhamandapam, which is a attached mandapam to the Shrikovil. Then there is Sopanam, the flight of steps which leads to the Shrikovil. Namaskara Mandapam, which is seen in front of the Shrikovil. Then there will be a pillared hall, or that a structure which is called Nalambalam. This portion which is facing that entrance will be slightly broader. That structure or that part is known as the Valiyambalam. Then surrounding that there will be Vilakkumadam, a galaxy of lamps. Then there will be Balikkal Mandapam with the main Balikkal placed in that mandapam. Then Dvajam. Then there will be a Kuttambalam, like here, where that classical dance and all were performed. So that somewhere here is that Kuttambalam. Then there will be Gopuram. And there are some other structures like Moolayara, which will be placed here, and Thitappally, that the kitchen for making the Naivedyams for the temple. This is another representation of the layout of the temple. You can see here a circular temple, a square, circular Shrikovil and square Shrikovil. Attached Mukhamandapam is there here also. And this is the Namaskara Mandapam. And you can see here that Nalambalam, which has got a broad part or platform. Then here is that Balikkal Mandapam. It is also known as the Agramandapa. Then Bali Pitha will be there. Dojastambam will be there. Kuttambalam's place will be somewhere here. Now, this is that aerial view of a typical, in the last phase, that typical Kerala temple. You can see that structures here. The entrance is from this side, and there are different prakaras. This is an aerial view of Peruvanam Shiva temple, which is located in Thrissur district, central part of Kerala. This is another view of another temple, a big temple, which can be of that late phase with all the major components. Now let us see that I mentioned earlier that there are 3 phases for the structural temples of Kerala. Let us see the characteristic features of the early phase temples. In the earliest temples possessed a Shrikovil, and the Shrikovils could be square, circular, or apsidal in shape. Some square Shrikovils have a projecting Mukhamandapa, which is attached to the Shrikovil. Some had detached Namaskara Mandapams. A quadrangular Nalambalam enclosed the Shrikovil, Namaskara Mandapam, and Balikkals. We will go in detail later. So these are some of the special features of the early phase temples. Now coming to the middle phase temples, in the middle phase, there happened the introduction of Shrikovil of elliptical shape. Then a circumambulatory path around the Garbhagriha, Sandhara type of temples. Development of Sarvatobhadra type temples with the doors at 4 directions. Some Sarvatobhadra types possessed 2 or 3 doors and 1 or 2 Ghanadwaras. Mostly with the detached Namaskara Mandapam will be seen in the middle phase temples. Then placing of Buddha figures supporting the pranala. That is another feature of the middle phase temples. We will be seeing all these features in the later slides. Then carving on the Hasta banisters. On the Sopanams, there will be a Hasta banister, and there will be carvings on that. In the last phase of temples, you will see all the major components of the typical Kerala temples. Like there will be an introduction of copper sheets for the roofing. There will be the subsidiary shrines. Then the Vilakkumadam, the galaxy of lamps in the temple. Then the Kuttambalam, Deepastambam, Dvajastambam, flagstaff. Anakuttal, it is for the placing of the elephant. There is a structure which is called Anakuttal. Then the outer wall will be there with the Gopuram at the entrance. So all these components will be there in the last phase of temples. And in case of the typical Kerala temples, it is conceived or the made with panchapragaras, or 5 enclosures will be there. Now let us see what are these panchapragaras of a typical Kerala temple. Let us start with the central portion, the Andar Mandala, the first prakara. It is also known as Agatya Balivattam. It contains this, for the first prakara contains the Shrikovil, Sanctum Sanctorum, and its outer space. This outer space accommodates the Balikkals, then Namaskara Mandapam, then the temple well. So this is the Andar Mandala, which is the first Pragara. Then the second one surrounding that is the Andhara, the second Pragara. It has got Nalambalam, then Valiyambalam, Thitappally, and Moolayara. These are the structural elements seen in Andhara. Now coming to the third Pragara, it is known as the Madhyahara. There we get the Vilakkumadam, the galaxy of lamps surrounding the temple. Then comes the fourth one, Prakara, Bahya Prakara. It is also known as Puratte Balivattam. And this Bahyahara has got many components: the outer enclosure and circumambulatory path, Balikkal Mandapam, the main Balikkal, Deepastambam, Kootambalam, subsidiary shrines, Dwajastambam, Anakutil, etc. Many structures are seen in the Bahyahara, or the fourth Pragara. Then the outer one, the fifth Prakara, is that Maryada. It is known as the Maryada, the Puram Madil, the boundary wall, with a Gopuram and an Uttupura. So these are the Panchapragaras, or the 5 enclosures of a typical Kerala temple. But it is not necessary that all the temples do have all these 5 Pragaras, or the 5 Pragaras are not seen in all the temples. But for the typical Kerala temple, as per the Shastra, it should have all these Panchapragaras. Now this is another aerial view of a temple. This is of Vadakkunnatha temple, Thrissur district. So this has got all the Panchapragaras. The outer boundary wall is somewhere here, and that is the first Pragara. Then all the other 5 Pragaras are there. Vilakkumadam is there. This is one Pragara. This is Nalambalam and Valiyambalam. This is the central one. Now, let us go into the temple complex and see what are the different components of each Pragara. Let us start from outside. And before going into the temples, devotees normally purify themselves, washing their feet and face or the body in the pond well. So this kind of pond well will be there in Kerala temples. So let us go inside. As I mentioned earlier, that the outer Pragara is that Maryada. The 5th Pragara is the Maryada, or the outer wall. The major temples are protected with the outermost compound wall. Just see this wall. This shape is known as it is like an elephant belly. So this kind of huge outer wall is seen in many temples. In Malayalam term, it is called Anapalla Madil. Means that it's just like the belly of an elephant. This outer wall is made out of the laterite stone. This is plastered. And this outer wall, at the entrance, there may be gopuras. And just to see this one, some wealthy temples may have the outer walls decorated with mural paintings. An example from Guruvayur Sri Krishna temple. The Gopuram is the entrance gateway to the temple enclosure. We have seen that the Maryada, or the outer wall, is there. At the cardinal points, there will be the Gopurams. Major temples will have 4 Gopurams at 4 cardinal directions, and the other temples may have 2 in the eastern and the western side. The Gopurams may be of Dvitala like this one, or Tritala like this one, which is again Padakkunnatha temple. And some temples may have very simple kind of Gopurams. Now, from the Gopuram, this is the door of the Gopuram, and through this door, we can enter into the next Pragara. When you enter, you will see a corridor of the Gopuram. This is the corridor. Sometimes that even the ceiling will be decorated with the wooden panels. Now let us go into the temple in the next prakara, crossing this corridor of the Gopuram. See, this is the corridor of the Gopuram. Then from here itself, you can see that Vilakkumadam, the Shrikovil, and the other components. Now that we are into the fourth prakara, the Bahyahara or Puratte Balivattam. So this is that Gopuram. This is that Maryada, the wall. We entered through this one and we have reached the Bahyahara or the Puratte Balivattam or the fourth prakara. The Bahyahara, you have the components like Anakottil. This is the Anakottil. Dwajastambam will be there. Deepastambam will be there. And there will be a Balikkal Mandapam, or it is also known as the Agramandapam. Then Valiya Balikkal. Inside that there will be a Balikkal. Then Kootambalam, a structure where the performing arts are, that some of the classical dance are performed. And there are, apart from that, there are subsidiary shrines. So all these components are seen in the Bahyahara or the fourth prakara. First, let us see the Anakottil, or this one is that Anakottil, a place where elephants take position during the festival. This is also known as Nadappandal. And here, some of the major functions like the marriage, Choruna, or Tulabharam, and other rituals are performed. Dwajastambam, or the flagstaff, or the Kodimaram. The Dwajastamba is the pillar used for hosting the flag during the festival. It is located outside the Balikkal Mandapa. This is Balikkal, and this is the scene in between Anakottil and Balikkal. Sometimes there will be Balikkal Mandapa. So the position of the flagstaff is somewhere here. Flagstaff is somewhere here. It bears the Vahana of the main deity. And at the lower portion of the flagstaff, you may see the Ashtadikpala idols at the bottom of this Dwajastamba. See, this is that the top portion of the flagstaff or the Kodimaram. You can see the Vahana of the deity in the Sanctum Sanctorum on the top of this Dwajastamba. You can see bull here, and here it is Garuda, indicating that the temple belonged to Vishnu and here belonged to Shiva. Now, at that base of this Dwajastamba, there will be the depiction of the Dikpalas, Ashtadikpalas. You can see that how they are presented. Now, coming to the next component of the Bahyahara. Here it is the Balikkal Mandapam. It is the mandapam where the principal Balipita is located. You can see the Balipita here. It faces the Sanctum Sanctorum, directly faces the Sanctum Sanctorum. The ceiling may have the wooden sculptures of the Ashtadikpalas or the Navagrahas. The beams may have the mythical story panels. Brackets may possess divine and semi-divine sculptures. Some of these Namaskara, Balikkal Mandapams are highly decorated with the wooden panels. Let us see that how these decorations are seen in the Balikkal Mandapam. This is another example of the Balikkal Mandapam. This is the Balikkal Mandapam. This is Anakottil. This is the Distambam. See that here the main Balikkal is placed here just to see the ceiling. It's made out of wood. You can see that heavy beams and the panels, the brackets, etc. The Balikkal, the size of the Balikkals depends upon the size of the height of the Shrikovil. So that the position of the deity will be in this almost in align with this at the top of the Balikkal. Another Balikkal, just to see that how it is decorated, the Valiya Balikkal. So these are the components of Balikkal. It do have Paduka at the base, Jagati, Kumudam, Kumudapati, then there will be Gala, Uttara, Valaru, Kapodam, Kapotapati, Padma. So these are the typical components of a Balikkal. The shape is a replica of the Adhisthana of the Shrikovil up to the point of Pita of the deity. You can see the different kinds of Balikkals seen in the temples of Kerala. Some Balikkals are seen without any mandapa, like this one. This is from Murikulam Lakshmana temple in Thrissur. Here that Balikkal mandapa is not seen, here also. Now let us see that what kind of decorations are seen in Balikkal mandapams. As I mentioned, wood is profusely used in most of the Balikkal mandapams. The ceiling is decorated like this in many of the Balikkal mandapams, with the depiction of the Navagrahas and all. See how it is depicted. Paintings also will be seen. Now, the Nandimandapam sometimes, especially in the Shiva temples, this mandapam may accommodate the Nandi. In such cases, the Balikkal is seen outside the mandapam. You can see the Balikkal here, but in this mandapam, the Nandi is placed. Now coming to the Kuttambalam or the temple theatre. Kuttambalam is positioned at the southeast corner of east-facing temples and at northwest corner of the west-facing temples. It is usually in rectangular shape. It has Rangapeetham or a stage raised from the rest of the floor, and it also will have an aniyara or a green room and a space around for the audience. Kuttambalams are often decorated with wooden carvings and wooden sculptures. This Kuttambalam is from the Vadakunatha temple, Thrissur. See, this is the Rangamandapam, where the performing arts or that this Kudiyattam, Kathakali, etc. are performed. You can see here that a place where that musical instrument, Mirav, which is usually used for that Kudiyattam, is placed. And behind there will be an aniyara, a green room. And here that devotees or the spectators sits and watch the performance. Another view or that another the Kuttambalam. This is the instrument Mirav. You can see here, although the condition of the Kuttambalam is very bad, you can see that that wooden panels with sculptural decorations, depictions, and the decorations. Just to see, some of them are very intricately decorated with the sculptures and the narrative panels. See here that Ashtadikpalas are presented. The floral decorations are there. In the bracket, there are scenes from Puranic stories, like scenes from the Dakshayaga, Kiradarjuniyam, etc. And here also you can see that narrations. Sometimes it may be of Ramayana or the Bhagavata stories. So this is how that Kuttambalam ceilings are decorated in some of the temples. Another view, how it is intricately decorated. Here, the Dakshayagam sculptures are shown in the brackets. See here, the Palari Mathana, the churning of the ocean is, Milky Ocean is shown here. So this is how the ceiling of the Kuttambalams are decorated with sculptures, paintings, and relief panels. See here, this is a scene from the Dakshayaga. And pillars of some of the Kuttambalams are also intricately decorated. You can see here Vishnu on Garuda with the wives. The Narasimha is shown here. This kind of pillars are seen in the Kuttambalams. Now coming to the sub-shrines. So in that, especially in the last phase temples, you may see the sub-shrines. And some of the sub-shrines may have a mandapam in front of that. Now coming to the third pragara. So we have covered the first two pragaras and we are moving into the third pragara. It is also known as Madhyahara or the Vilakkumadam. This is the Vilakkumadam. It accommodates a galaxy of lamps. You can see the galaxy of lamps here. Technically, it lines the outer wall of the inner pragaram. Like that, the second pragaram is that Nalambalam, Valiyambalam, etc. And technically, it is actually the outer wall of the inner pragaram. Only some major temples do have a separate Vilakkumadam. There will be an open space between Nalambalam and Vilakkumadam in major temples. Another example, you can see this is that Vilakkumadam with the galaxy of lamps. Some of the temples may have, especially the small temples, may have multi-layered lamps instead of the the lamps fixed on the rails. Here it is just a multi-tiered lamps fixed on the outer side of the Nalambalam walls. Now from there, Vilakkumadam, we are entering into the next prakara. This is a view outside the Nalambalam, showing the Nalambalam corridor. This is the Nalambalam, the next prakara, that we are entering into the next prakara. This is the corridor. From here, you can see a small Balikkal, the Sopanam, the flights leading to the Shrikovil. And here you can also see the Mukhamandapam. So this is that next prakara, or that this one, this fourth prakara. It has got, this one is the fourth prakara. It has got it has got another name, Andhara. The Andhara got the components like Nalambalam, Valiyambalam, Thitappally, and Moolayara. So this is it is also known as the Chuttambalam, which surrounds the Shrikovil. It may have the pillars also. It's open halls with the pillars, and the broad the position or the structure which faces the Gopuram, or that the entrance. It may be slightly broader, and it is called Valiyambalam. See here, these are the Nalambalam and Valiyambalam. This is that broader platform, which is known as the Nalambalam. You can see that how it is structured. The Nalambalam or the Chuttambalam is a pillared open hall surrounding the Shrikovil and Namaskara Mandapam. The broad side of the Nalambalam, just like this one, facing the Shrikovil, is called Valiyambalam. The corridor of Valiyambalam permits devotees to enter and exit through the main gate. This is the corridor. This is the Nalambalam. You can see that open hall with the pillars. And some of the pillars of the Valiyambalam do have the sculptures or the relief sculptures, like this one. The Sharabhecha is presented here, Venu Gopala, and some of the devotees also are, Deepalakshmi, etc. are presented. So that some of them have wooden pillars, or some do have the stone pillars with the sculptural representation. And a component of this prakara is Thitappally. Thitappally is that the kitchen, the Naivedyam is cooked in the kitchen, and this is the way to the Thitappally. This is the Shrikovil, and this is the Namaskara Mandapam, and here you can see that a way to the Thitappally. Another view, in another temple, a long way to the Thitappally. An enclosure in the southeastern corner of the Nalambalam is known as the Thitappally Holy Kitchen. It is the Holy Kitchen where Naivedyam, or the food for God, is prepared. And another component is Andhara is Moolayara. It's a chamber located in the north or northeast side of the Nalambalam. During Utsava Bali, specified cereals and pulses are germinated in Moolayara after tantric rites. You can see the Moolayara here. It's made out of wooden panels. Now coming to the last prakara, the first Andar Mandala, the main enclosure. It has got Namaskara Mandapam, Balikkals like this one, then the temple well, and Shrikovil. So these are the components of the Andar Mandala, or the first prakara. Andar Mandala of another temple. This is that Namaskara Mandapa, Shrikovil with a Mukhamandapa. You can see the Balikkals. So these are the main component. Well also will be there, the components of the Andar Mandala. The Namaskara Mandapam. Let us see the Namaskara Mandapam. It is located in front of the Shrikovil. The Namaskara Mandapam is a square-shaped pavilion with a raised platform. It has a set of pillars and a pyramidal roof. Ceilings and beams may have sculptural and decorative elements. In many temples, you can see the Namaskara Mandapam ceilings and the brackets highly decorated with wooden beams and the panels. And this Namaskara Mandapam is used by the priests for Sashtanga Namaskaram after the puja. So this is the Namaskara Mandapam. This is another view of the Namaskar. I mean, in another temple, another Namaskara Mandapam. You can see this is the Shrikovil, the Sopanam which leads to the Shrikovil. This is that Valiyambalam. This one at that in between the Valiyambalam and the Shrikovil is the Namaskara Mandapam. Namaskara Mandapam of another temple. You can see the pillars, the stone pillars. In some of the temples, these pillars will be decorated with the sculptures. Even the ceilings also will be having the decorations. This is a Namaskara Mandapam, comparatively plain, without much decoration. You can see the profuse use of the wood. The pillars are made out of granite. See that this one, which is in Tiruvantangum Bhagavati temple, which is located in the Malappuram district, the ceiling of this Namaskara Mandapam is highly decorated. You can see that paintings also. Another one, just to see that intricately decorated ceiling of the Namaskara Mandapam. See here again that the churning of the Milky Ocean is presented here. In one side, Devas and Asuras are churning that Milky Ocean with Mandara mountain in between. Another intricately decorated, the ceiling of Namaskara Mandapa. It is in Avitattur Mahadeva temple, which is located in Thrissur district. Still another one, which is located in Ernakulam district. A different one. Still another one, highly decorated one. You can see the brackets and the decorations. This is from a temple in the Kasaragod region. We can see the brackets and the wooden panels showing stories from the Puranas, Bhagavata, etc. See that these kind of brackets are there. This of a scene from the two scenes from the Kiratarjuniyam. Saptatala Bhedana is presented here. These all are the kind of decorations seen in the Namaskara Mandapam. Some of the pillars of the Namaskara Mandapam, see how intricately this wooden pillar of Namaskara Mandapam is decorated. Now the Mukhamandapa is the small porch attached to the Shrikovil. It's not necessary that all the temples do have this Mukhamandapam, but some of them have got an attached mandapa to the Shrikovil called Mukhamandapam. Temple well, exclusively for drawing water for temple rites. Temple well is located at the northeast side of the Nalambalam. You can see a round well here, and for all the rituals and for cooking the Naivedyam and all, the water from this temple well is taken. Another temple well. Now in this Andhara itself, you may see that the plants like Ixora, the jungle flame, which is used for making the garland for the deity. So sometimes the Tulasi also will be seen inside. The Balikkals, which is also seen in the first prakara, and at orient and cardinal points, these Balikkals are seen. They are the symbolic representation of representations of Ashtadikpalas, Saptamatragas, and other Devatas. This is that Chuttambalam. You can see the Shrikovil and all. See here also you can see the Balikkals, and this is that Nalambalam around Shrikovil. So this is how these Balikkals are placed in the temple. Here at the center is the Shrikovil. The Balikkals are placed in this way. They are the symbolic representation of the deities. Just to see here it is the representation of the Saptamatragas, like this way, symbolically represented. 7 Matragas, then Veerabhadra and Ganapati. Here it is the presentation of the Yama. Some Balikkals will be covered with the metal covering. Now coming to the central part, the Shrikovil, the most important part of the first prakara. And this is an example of Sarvato Bhadra. 4 doors are there at 4 cardinal directions. The principal shrine or the sanctum sanctorum of a temple, the Shrikovil, it's built on square, circular, apsidal, and rectangular plans. So Shrikovils, this is an example of that layout of a elliptical Shrikovil. There will be square or the apsidal shaped Shrikovils too. These are some of the example for that Shrikovil of circular shape, square, apsidal. And these Shrikovils may be of Ekatala, single storied. This is the apsidal Ekatala Shrikovil. This is square Shrikovil, circular Shrikovil with single story. And some temples do have Thitappally Shrikovil with 2 stories. Square one with 2 stories, circular one with 2 stories, and this is apsidal shaped one with 2 stories. Some of them may be Tritala, 3-storied, apsidal Tritala Shrikovil, square Tritala Shrikovil. And now coming to the elevation of the Shrikovil, a typical Kerala temple Shrikovil do have the Adhisthana at the bottom, then the pilastered wall, the sloping roof, and the pinnacle stupi. And Adhisthana of the early phase temples are comparatively simpler. These are the examples of the middle phase or the components of the middle phase, and these are of the late phase. Now, Adhisthana is generally made out of granite. It may have that components like Paduka, the lowest portion, Jagati, Kumudam, Galam, Pati, Bhikti, etc. And it may also have a pranala, the jetting out of the Adhisthana. This is the pranala, an outlet attached normally to the northern wall of the Shrikovil for the exit flow of the liquid used for the abhisheka of the deity. This pranala may be circular shaped, maybe circular or multifaceted, square or rectangular. See, these are some of the examples of the pranala, which is which projects out of the Adhisthana for letting out the abhisheka water. From 14th century onwards, you can see the depiction of Bhuta figure below this pranala, just as if that he is drinking the water with abhisheka water. So that kind of Bhuta figure is seen from 14th century onwards. Another kind of depiction of the pranala with a Bhuta figure below. Still another one. So these are the different kinds of the types of the pranalas seen in Kerala temples. And the base of a typical pranala look like a Vyala face. And at the extremity, it is like the Gomukha. It do have the ornamentations like pearls, strings, and creepers. Now coming to the Sopanam, the flight of steps leading to the Shrikovil. So this is the Sopanam. Here is that Namaskara mandapam, this is the Shrikovil, and this narrow space is there in between the Namaskara mandapam and the Shrikovil. Through the Sopanam flights, or the Sopanam flights leads to the Shrikovil. Sopanam, the flight of holy steps to reach the Sanctum Sanctorum. Number of steps normally are 3 to 5. Just to see here, this is how that Sopanam is. This is the Shrikovil door. You can see on both sides the Dwarapalas. The flight of steps can be of 2 types, and you can see that the decorations also on the handrails and at the sides. In many temples, Sopanam rails resemble a rolled up tongue of the Vyalis, like from it is just like a tongue of the Vyali, which is rolled up. There are plain or decorated sides. The decorated sides may have that relief sculptures. Sometimes this Sopanam may be covered with the metal, the gold, or that brass. See that here. And there are 2 kinds of Sopanam flights, one directly leading to the Shrikovil or from the sideways. See, this is how that Sopanam is there. This is the Namaskara Mandapam, the flight of steps leading to the door. You can see the Dwarapalas here. Now the walls of the Shrikovil. Normally of laterite. These walls are made out of the laterite and rarely granite. The adisthana will be of the laterite, granite, but the wall will be generally of laterite and rarely granite. It may be plain, plastered, painted, or sculpted. Just to see here that how that decorations are there on the walls in some of the temples. You may see that Kutya Stambhas, pilaster motifs, Toranas with Makara arches, Shala Shikharas or Kapota Pancharas. So these kind of architectural elements are there on the Shrikovil walls. See the type of niches seen in the temples. An example of the Shrikovil wall. You can see the projections and recesses with the sculptures and the paintings. Another, the Shrikovil wall. You can see the Torana here, the Pinjara, Shala, etc. Some of them may be very plain with some architectural elements like this one. Here you can see the architectural elements and the mural paintings. As brackets, you can see the sculptures, also round sculptures. Another temple with the paintings. This is another one. This is the Ghanadwara, the false door. The paintings, mural paintings, you can see the architectural elements also are there. Some temples may have the decorations like this one. Or sometimes the entire Shrikovil wall may be decorated with the wooden panels, which do have the reliefs of the deities, or that the scenes from the Puranas, Bhagavata, etc. are depicted. See here, the entire it's an example of the round Shrikovil with the walls covered with the wooden panels. You can see the deities here, representation of the deities, floral decorations, etc. This is Shiva and Parvati. You can see here the Kartikeya, Ganapati. The Bhagavata scene is presented in a vertical panel, like the Krishna Leela is shown here. Sometimes the wall may be, this is another example. You can see that Anantashai Vishnu as in the wooden panel of the Shrikovil. Here, the Gopika Vastrapaharana. So these kind of scenes you can see in the wooden panels which covers the Shrikovil wall. And there will be a brackets which supports the ceilings. And there in the brackets also you may see the sculptures. See here, this is how the sculptures are seen in the brackets. They are shown as if standing on the elephant head. This is an example. This is a temple of Peruvanam Shiva Temple, Thrissur district. You can see that in 2 talas, bracket figures are there, like this one. These all are the wooden sculptures presented as the brackets. Kiradarjuniyam, presented as the bracket figures. In the Devakoshtas also, you may see the depiction of the deities in wood, depiction of Adimurti. Now coming to the Shrikovil roof, it may be of tile roof or the metal roof. And the pinnacle or that the pointed finial is the stupi. Stupi is the pointed finial at the pinnacle of the Shrikovil. It is considered as a communication device between the mortal and spiritual world. This has got the components like Mahapadma, Kumbha, Nala, Lotus Bud, etc. Different components are there. Now, so we have seen all the pragaras, Pancha pragaras of a typical Kerala temple. And after visiting all these pragaras and all the components, let us come out of the temple to the temple pond. It is seen outside the temple pond. We entered the temple after seeing the temple pond. Now we come out of the temple and just see the temple pond. This temple pond is highly decorated. This a mandapa is there with decorations. Normally, the temple ponds are located at the northeast corner of the compound. See that this is how the temple ponds are seen. a beautiful temple pond, which is located in Kannur district. So that is all about the uniqueness of the Kerala temples, temple architecture. Thank you very much.